Hey everybody, it is Zach here from the Ed Boys, and today's video is going to be about getting rich from Vorkath. My goal in this video is to teach you how to make money with Vorkath from a poor to a rich setup. We're going to be talking about like the cheapest gear that you could grind some kills with, and then go over what upgrades that you should be getting so you can start making even more money here, eventually maxing out your profit with range. Most bosses can be camped out to make a lot of money, but the benefit of Vorkath is how consistent it is. There's not like a bunch of 100 mil plus drops like raids or next, but you're never going to have like an hour where you don't profit a bunch of money. Now, I did say range. This video is going to be all about the range setup. It's easier to get started with range, as bare minimum setup with range is a lot cheaper than it is with melee Vorkath. But if you're interested in a video like this for melee Vorkath, then be sure to click that like button and let me know in the comments section below that the melee guide would be helpful too. On the note of guides, this is not a Vorkath guide. In other words, I'm not going to teach you how to kill Vorkath, like all the mechanics and whatnot. I already have a Vorkath range guide and a Vorkath melee guide, actually. They are both linked in the description. If you're just trying to learn on how to fight the boss and all the mechanics and whatnot, those are the videos for you. This video is rather talking about the process of grinding out Vorkath kills, upgrading your gear to get even more money per hour, and just making a ton of money from this boss. Let's open up with the cheap gear set. The prices of weapons and armor may change by the time that you watch this video, but this set should cost you under 1 mil to get started. Mostly the dragon crossbow is the price here. You could use the rune crossbow instead, which makes this cheap setup even cheaper, but if you've completed Dragon Slayer 2, I assume you have the 1 mil to complete this setup with. It's fair to note that the difference between the dragon crossbow and the rune crossbow is insanely minimal. We can even throw the armadillo crossbow in here for comparisons. The main upgrade that you're getting from these crossbows is more accuracy. The rune crossbow is plus 90 range accuracy, dragon crossbow is plus 94, and the armor crossbow is a plus 100. This is a very minimal increase for the prices of these crossbows, especially if you add in the fact that all your other gear also has range boost. So overall, if you have 200 range accuracy and you're wielding the dragon crossbow and then you spent 40 mil on armor crossbow, you'd be up to 206 range accuracy. That's really not that much of a difference. At least going from the rune crossbow to the dragon crossbow is under a 1 mil upgrade, but it's also worth noting that the dragon and armadillo crossbow can use dragon bolts, and the armadillo crossbow does have a special attack that adds a little bit of accuracy for those few hits. We'll talk a little bit more about these things later. The rest of this cheap gear setup is pretty straightforward. I have the Sarah D'hide Coif. Any god D'hide Coif's going to work. They all have the same stats, including that little bit of prayer bonus. I have an Ava's accumulator going in. You're going to be upgrading this with your Vorkath grind, but if you have the assembler already, then you are doing great. A cheap amulet of glory option for the necklace slot, though you're going to see the upgrade to this is technically cheaper than a glory. I'm rocking regular ruby bolts, and I have diamond bolts switch in the inventory. The dragon crossbow can use dragon bolts instead of just the regular ones, but they're very expensive, so you want to use dragon bolts when you have better gear to match it up with. I have black D'hide on. It's a very simple option, though I will point out it's generally more difficult to unlock Vorkath doing Dragon Slayer 2 than it is grinding out your Barrow's gloves. So you likely already have Barrow's gloves. You should put that on instead of black D'hide Van Braces. We have the real cheap snakeskin boots for shoes, and I'm rocking a Ring of Wealth. It only affects rare drop table stuff. That sounds like a good thing, but the rare drop table doesn't actually have a lot of great stuff on it. It's not just for getting any rare drop in the game. It's to help get a drop specifically from this table, which is labeled the rare drop table. So the Ring of Wealth barely is helpful. You're really fine with like no ring for the cheap setup. And then finally, of course, we have an anti-dragon shield since Vorkath will be using Dragonfire. All this gear should cost you a little bit under 1 mil, so if you're rocking that 1 mil budget, then the rest of your cash goes into your inventory, which is also very straightforward. I got that diamond bolt switch that I mentioned. I'm using ruby bolts on Vorkath till it's at 250 health, then I'm switching to diamond bolts. 1 ranging potion, an extended super anti-fire. You do want to make sure it's super anti-fire, and you might as well get the extended version, which actually is cheaper than the regular one according to RuneLite prices at the moment. I think that's just because nobody buys the regular one very often. The Anti-Venom Plus is the best way for getting rid of that Venom from his green Dragonfire, and then I got 2 prayer potions on me. The exact ratio of how many doses of potion you're going to use on each trip is going to differ depending on how many kills you're getting and how long the kills take, so you might be adjusting these ratios as you go. The rune pouch has Crumble Undead in it, which is needed for the undead spawn attack. I'm using Dust runes for Earth and Airs. That way I can also get Chaos and the Law runes in there so that I can use the Teleport to House in the same Envy space. Moving your house to Relica is very nice for getting back to Vorkath from this one Envy space. Be careful with this though, you might accidentally teleport to the house when you're trying to click on Crumble Undead. So the amount of kills that you get per hour not only depends on the gear that you're rocking, but also your range level, of course. I suggest an 85 plus range level for grinding out Vorkath kills, but it's really kind of a judgment call. If you're sitting at 80 range, you've done a few kills, and you really don't mind the pace of kill, well, then you're good to go. You can just keep cranking out some more kills. If you're unhappy with your kill time, and you're already doing everything that you can for your gear upgrades, like you spent all the money you've got and whatnot, maybe you should be looking at your range level. Your accuracy is going to be pretty low with this minimum setup, so your kill times can vary pretty hard if you're getting unlucky. It's reasonable to assume assume 4 to 5 minutes per kill. You'll also be getting only 1 or 2 kills per trip. If you're just learning Vorkath, you're going to be messing up a few times. So we're looking at only like 10 or 12 kills an hour. Currently, the average Vorkath kill is 148k in loot, and even without the skeletal visage, it's still like 135, 140k GP per kill. That's not pure profit. You're going to be eating like mana rays, sipping prayer potions, anti-venoms and whatnot, using your bolts. Even a long kill should not cost you more than 40k in supplies, though. That would be like 2 full prayer potions and all of your food, which is more like 6 or 7 minutes per kill. Even in that worst case scenario, you would be making 100k per kill, and at 10 to 12 kills an hour, that's 1 mil to 1.2 mil profit per hour. After just 1 good hour of this, if you only had a 1 mil budget in the first place, you've now more than doubled your money. These are actually pretty slow numbers for Vorkath, though. That's what the bare minimum setup is going to get you, so let's talk about some upgrades and get those numbers up. When taking a look at the mid-level setup for Vorkath, you'll notice there's actually a lot of items here that are the best option for Vorkath. It turns out a lot of Vorkath's best gear options are just untradeable things, so you can get very good DPS without having to spend as much GP in each inventory slot. That's why our setup here is still relatively cheap, but we have some solid gear options that'll even be used until the max setup. We'll start with the investments, though, the tradable items. I've only got 2 of them in the worn gear, starting with the imbued Archer's Ring. The Archer's Ring usually sits at around 4 mil, and you can imbue it at either the Nightmare Zone or Soul Wars to double the range accuracy bonus on it. I've also upgraded from Snakeskin boots to Blessed D'hide boots. I'm rocking the Ceradomans, but each of the boots have the same stats. This adds a little bit of range accuracy from the Snakeskins, but also some prayer bonus, which means that you're going to be spending less money on prayer potions in the long run. You can get these 2 gear upgrades with under 5 mil in cash, which is only a few hours of grinding Vorkath in that bare minimum gear. The other 2 tradable investments for this setup are not something that you wear, actually. First, we're going over to the Prayers tab. Rigor is a level 74 prayer that you do need the Dexterous Prayer Scroll to unlock. The Dexterous Prayer Scroll was worth spending money on it when it was like 50 mil, dude. Rigor is an insanely good prayer, and currently you can get it for under 15 mil. With most gear upgrades, you can sell them back if you're not using them anymore. That is not the case with this, though. Once you've unlocked the prayer, that's it. You're not selling it back, but it is one of the most valuable upgrades that you can make for range. This is not only going to help at Vorkath, but there are tons of other bossing moneymakers that use range that this will help at. I would even say that if you're 4 mil away from affording the Dexterous Prayer Scroll, you could just sell your Archer's Ring, get the new prayer, and then when you make 4 mil back, you can just go buy your Archer's Ring back. That would be a better option. This prayer is broken, and it is going to increase your GP per hour immediately. The other expensive upgrade for this setup is in your inventory. I highly suggest adding a Bando's God Sword for the special attack once you have the money for it. The BGS is almost 17 mil at the moment, but it has gotten as low as 8 mil in the past. The BGS special attack lowers Vorkath's defense level. The more damage that you do with the spec, the more defense it's going to lower. So if you added like an imbued Berserker Ring to your switch, that does help out with your max hit. I've got the Void Melee Helm to help with accuracy and damage, since we'll already be wearing Void, but we're going to be talking about Void in a minute. If you had to choose between a BGS and the Dexterous Prayer Scroll, then definitely get the Prayer Scroll first, but the BGS can be very helpful for kill times. In fact, it's worth mentioning the Blowpipe. The Toxic Blowpipe was recently nerfed, mostly in accuracy, so that it doesn't really hit bosses that have high defense. If you land at 25 with a BGS on Vorkath, it already lowers his defense enough to bring the Blowpipe right back into play, and it can keep up with definitely the Dragon Crossbow pretty easily if it has Amethyst Darts in it. If you got max range gear, a heavy BGS spec, and like Dragon Darts, you can still get really sick kills per hour with the Blowpipe, but it is a lot more expensive to use than a crossbow, thanks to Zulra's scales and the fact that you're shooting a ton of darts. For that reason, I prefer to use the crossbow still, but it's worth bringing up that you can still make a lot of profit here using the Blowpipe. The BGS is crucial to that setup, though. So we've had 4 different things that you can spend GP on for this mid-tier upgrade: the Archer's Ring, Blessed D'hide boots, the Dexterous Prayer Scroll, and the BGS. Clearly those last 2 taking up the majority of the price, but we're looking at 35 to 36 mil in upgrades. That is a lot of hours if you're only making 1 mil an hour, but also as you're making these upgrades, your kill speed is going up, and the amount of money that you're spending on your kills is going down. Also, you could spend more money to upgrade to Dragon Bolts. They're very expensive to use, but you don't need to like save up a ton of cash to have them either, so I wouldn't call them like a max gear upgrade necessarily. Personally, I don't like using Dragon Bolts unless I'm rocking that Dragon Hunter crossbow, though. To really get my money's worth out of them, I want that extra accuracy. So Dragon Bolts, they're very expensive over time. Eventually, they do make up for it with the best gear, though. Let's get into the other mid-tier upgrades, these untradables. First of all, the Void Gear. This is a reward from Pest Control. If you know nothing about Pest Control, I do have a Pest Control guide, which should be linked in the description. Each Void Helmet gives a nice boost for that attack style, whichever one it is related to, as long as you're also wearing 3 other Void pieces: the robe, the top, and the gloves. The Void Void Range Helm gives you a plus 10% boost to your range accuracy and damage. If you have the Elite Void top and bottom, you actually get a 12.5% boost instead of the 10, and those items also have a prayer bonus on it. The Void is a bit of a slow grind at pest control, but you can also bring like a magic short bow and some arrows, train your range while you're there. That way, when you get back to Vorkath, you're going to have an even higher range level. In the necklace slot, we do have the Imbued Salve Amulet. The Salve Amulet has a similar boost to like a Slayer helmet. It gives you a boost in accuracy and strength, but it's only against undead monsters, which does include Vorkath. The Salve Amulet stacks with Void Gear, which is a huge bonus. It does not stack with a Slayer helmet, so even if you're on a Blue Dragon task, you're better off comboing the Salve Amulet with Void Gear. Make sure that you imbue your Salve Amulet at the Nightmare Zone or Soul Wars, or else it is useless for range. Salve Amulets can also be enchanted, which adds that little E in the parentheses, but that only adds to your melee bonus. This is not going to help for most of the fight, but if you're using a BGS spec, then it will make a big difference on that. The Salve Amulet can be obtained from the Haunted Mine quest, which is actually a very easy quest to get done. I almost put this amulet in the cheap gear setup because it doesn't take that long to get, and it is very worth getting for your grind. Lastly, we have the Ava's Assembler, hopefully the most obvious upgrade here. To upgrade your accumulator to the Assembler, you need Vorkath's Head and the 75 Mithril Arrows. The Vorkath's Head is a 1 in 50 drop, which is really not that bad, but you're also guaranteed to get a Vorkath's Head drop on your 50th kill, so you cannot go dry for this one. At a max of 50 kills, that means you made like 5 to 6 mil profit in that bare minimum gear, so you could also be upgrading your backpack, your ring, and the boots, like all on that same 50 KC. If you have any questions about obtaining these gear upgrades, which ones to choose in certain situations and whatnot, let me know in the comments section below. Now let's talk about the kills per hour that you can get with the mid-tier gear. Instead of like 4 to 5 minute kills, I would expect rather 2 or 3 minute kills and maybe like 3.5 minutes on the rough ones, depending on your range level too. You can get 3 kill trips with this setup, maybe like 4 or 5 sometimes, but that's not going to happen very often. Having to bank 5 or 6 times an hour is going to slow you down a lot, especially if you have like slow travel back to Vorkath, but just teleporting to the POH portal in Relica is still relatively fast. Long story short, I would go 16 to 18 kills an hour with this setup, as long as you're not dying to Vorkath a bunch too. That's going to slow you down and cost you money to get your stuff back. As we said before, just under 150k GP loot on average. You should be spending less money per kill now that you're getting faster kills since you're using less food and prayer. So instead of rounding all the way down to 100k GP, you should see more like 120 to 125k GP per kill. Multiplied by kills per hour, you're sitting at 1.9 to 2.25 mil profit per hour. Pretty much doubling what you were getting before. Once you're making 2 mil plus GP an hour on a moneymaker, you can really just camp that out to get rich as long as you're willing to put in the time. Finally, let's go over these max gear upgrades. As with any max gear setup in the game, it starts to get very expensive. Some best in slot items are like 100 times the price of the previous best item, but then they're only a small percentage of a boost. Some of these upgrades are still crucial to speeding up your kills per hour though, mostly that Dragon Hunter crossbow, so let's start with that. The Dragon Hunter crossbow is currently sitting at 86 mil. This can fluctuate a lot, but it's generally only going to go up by a lot if there's a new dragon boss announced and then there's a spike in demand. The Dragon Hunter crossbow has just about the same base stats as a dragon crossbow, but it also comes with a passive effect. When you use it against dragons, it increases your range accuracy by 30% and your range damage by 25%. This is a huge upgrade for your kill times. Also, with an increase in both accuracy and damage, you can use dragon bolts with this, and they're actually worth the money. It's a lot more money per bolt, but now you're going to be doing a lot more damage per bolt. This is definitely your most important upgrade for range Vorkath grinding. It's even worth downgrading other things to get money back and then go buy the crossbow once you're close enough. Let's give a good example of that. For the max gear, you also may notice there's a shield upgrade. The Dragonfire Ward still has Dragon Breath protection, like an anti-dragon shield, but it also has a plus 15 range accuracy and plus 8 range strength bonus, which is the most range strength that you'll get out of an item that isn't like weapon or ammo. The shield is pretty beastly, but it is a 20 mil upgrade, so it's kind of one of the last priorities. While you're saving up for a Dragon Hunter crossbow, you might as well buy one of these when you have the 20 mil. Once you're within 20 mil of buying a Dragon Hunter crossbow, it's worth just selling this, downgrading back to the other shield so that you can use the crossbow. Keep in mind, you're going to be taxed 200k if you sell back a shield for 20 mil, but within 2 kills, you'll have made that money back. And during the time that you're using just like a regular dragon crossbow and that shield, you're going to be getting faster kills, so you'll be making up for that 200k when you go to sell it back. Finally, for the worn gear upgrades, we have Pegasian boots. These are extremely overpriced. Pegasian boots have 5 more range accuracy than Ceridome and D'hide, which is slightly better than just going from snakeskin boots to D'hide. Ranger boots are very expensive because they're very rare. They've been steadily going up in price too. And since you need Ranger boots for Pegasian boots, that means Pegasian boots are always expensive. This is the last upgrade that you will need. Honestly, if you have everything else, then buying Pegasians is better than just letting the 47 mil sit in your bank. But legit, this is the last thing that you need to buy. I have one more big upgrade that I want to talk about, and it's in the inventory. There is no need to bring a BGS with you once you're using the Dragon Hunter crossbow. So also, you could sell that BGS off to help afford the Dragon Hunter crossbow. You're going to have space for a different special attack weapon now. The Zarite crossbow special attack guarantees to hit the proc from an enchanted bolt, and it adds 10% to the bolt's special move. So if you're using an enchanted ruby bolt and a Zarite crossbow spec, you are guaranteed to hit 110 damage. As long as the monster has enough remaining health, I guess. So you want to use this spec on Vorkath when he's at like full health. This is actually a very nice increase in your kill speeds over a full trip. The Zarite crossbow is more expensive than other things that we talked about here. Every other thing we've talked about combined, actually. Maybe by the time you watch this, it has dropped in price a little bit, but 400 mil is a lot to ask for just for your special attack weapon. Again, though, if you have one or you have the money for it, it is going to speed up your kills. Also in the inventory, I want to mention the Fremennik boots. They're a little bit faster transportation than the house teleport in Relica. Also, it is worth using divine ranging potions instead of just the regular ones, though I do forget my divine potions all the time. Let's go over the max kills per hour with the Dragon Hunter crossbow setup. As always, your gear is not the only factor in your total kills per hour, so your range level does matter. If you're using a maxed POH in between trips, is actually going to be a really big boost, and even upgrading to those Fremennik Sea Boots 4 is going to be a little bit faster, and it's going to add up over time. Shaving off seconds in your bank trip is just as valuable as shaving off seconds during the fight. All that being said, the max gear setup, you're going to start to get some kills under a minute even. Not a lot of them will be under a minute, more like 1 or 2 minutes per kill on average. It's very doable to have a 5 or 6 kill trip, and getting under a minute and a half per kill on that trip, you're going to be cruising. 30 kills per hour is a reasonable max out pace to try and get for a grind. I think up to 35 kills an hour is possible, but you're not going to get that consistently by any means. It's very hard to do maximum pace multiple hours in a row, so 30 is a more reasonable number. Again, 150k or so in loot per kill. You're probably spending a similar amount per kill as you did on the mid-tier gear. Your kills have gotten faster, so you're using a lot less food, potions, and bolts on every kill, but those bolts are a lot more expensive each, so it kind of evens out. At like 120k per kill, 28 to 30 kills per hour, you would be making 3.4 to 3.6 mil an hour in profit. It does require a lot of setup to get up to these rates, as you can see, because this video is starting to get kind of long, but that's how money-making methods work in general. If you want to see some of the best profit in the game, then it's going to require a little bit of setup. I think those are all the main points that I wanted to make for this Get Rich with Vorkath guide, everyone. Again, the goal of this guide was to go over like the process for making a lot of money through the Vorkath grind, what you want to spend your money on with upgrades so you can start getting faster kills and more GP per hour, and eventually getting rich with Vorkath. If you need an actual ranged Vorkath guide, I have linked mine in the description. I also have a melee Vorkath guide, some hours of Vorkath, like video examples that are linked in the description, and I'm making a big Vorkath loot video in the near future that I'm going to link in the description when it comes out. As with any other money-making method, if you really want to make a ton of GP from it, the biggest factor is just sitting down and doing a lot of it. Vorkath is a good option for consistent money-making method. There's always a private instance for you. The money per hour is not based on the really big rare drops, though you can get that skeletal visage occasionally for a nice 20 mil payout. So using all the steps that I brought up in this video, the only thing you need to add is some actual time to the grind, and you'll make a lot of money. If you still have any questions, let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video or you just got some useful information out of it, be sure to like and subscribe for more content. This is a little bit different than my other money-making guides. Rather than just discussing the mechanics of the method and saying why it makes money, I rather broke down like the actual grind, or more like the upgrade process in the grind, so you can get up to that maximum GP per hour. If you enjoyed this type of money-making guide and you'd like to see more poor to rich money-making guides like the Vorkath melee one, be sure to let me know in the comments section below. I do stream on Twitch, which is linked on the screen and in the description. I'm on Twitter, and I have a Discord, which are also linked in the description. Thanks again for watching, everyone, and best of luck on your Vorkath grind.